A piece of fabric hung over the outside of a window blocks 77% of the heat trying to get through it. The Department of Energy measured this. Not a special fabric, not a film, not a $300 window upgrade. Just canvas over a frame mounted above the glass. 77% on a west-facing window and 65% on a south-facing window. That shade cost about $20 to build from hardware store materials. Your great-grandmother had one on every window of her house. So did her neighbors. So did the White House. And then, about 70 years ago, America ripped them all down. The reason has almost nothing to do with whether they work, and the cost of not having one is not small. The Department of Energy puts it plainly. Somewhere between 25 and 30% of every dollar you spend on heating and cooling is leaving through your windows. That is the single largest source of wasted energy in most homes. And the oldest, cheapest fix for it was taken down within a generation. Here's the thing most people never think about, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. When you hang blinds or curtains inside a window, the sunlight has already passed through the glass. The glass absorbed some of that energy on the way in. The rest hit your floor, your furniture, your walls, and turned into heat. Your curtain is trying to manage a problem that already happened. It is standing in a room that is already getting warmer and trying to hold the line. Interior shades reduce heat gain by maybe 30 to 50%. That is helpful, but the heat is already inside the building. An exterior shade stops the sun before it touches the glass. The energy never enters your home. The glass stays cool. The air behind it stays cool. The room stays cool. Your air conditioning does not cycle. That is the difference between blocking 30% of the problem from the inside and blocking 77% of it from the outside. Same window, same afternoon. The only variable is which side of the glass you put the shade on, and the room does not go dark. An awning shades from above. You still see out. Light still comes in. It is just diffuse instead of direct. The room feels bright and comfortable instead of bright and hot. You are not covering the window, you are shading it, the same way a porch roof shades a front door. That difference, the heat that is not there, is a $20 piece of canvas doing what a $5,000 machine is struggling to do from the inside. Okay, so let me put some numbers on what that actually saves you, because this is where it stopped being interesting to me and started feeling like something people should be angry about. The Professional Awning Manufacturers Association funded a study through the Center for Sustainable Building Research at the University of Minnesota. They modeled a standard 1,700 square foot home across 50 US cities using DOE 2 building simulation software. The same program the Department of Energy uses. Real weather data, real window types, real orientations. In Pittsburgh, a home with awnings on all windows used 349 kilowatt hours of cooling energy over the summer. The same home without them used 775 kilowatt hours. That is a 55% reduction in cooling energy from fabric over the windows. In Phoenix, net annual savings came to $193. In the Southeast, one analysis showed a 34% drop in cooling costs and 3,453 kilowatt hours saved in a single year. Across all 50 cities, the study found savings up to $200 per year. And here's a detail that should get more attention than it does. In hotter than average years, the years your electricity bill spikes and you dread opening it, the savings increased by another 18%. The worse the heat gets, the harder the shade works. The worse the heat gets, the harder your air conditioning struggles. One of those systems costs $20. The other costs $5,000. And only one of them gets better when the problem gets worse. A homeowner named Michael Duffy in Manchester, New Hampshire, documented what happened after he installed awnings on his Victorian-era home. His porches and interior dropped 10 to 15 degrees in the heat of summer. He told the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance the awnings at least doubled the usefulness of his porch. The only downside he found was that his houseplants started lacking sunlight. On cloudy days, he folds the awnings up and the house brightens right back. That is the whole trade-off. Cooler house, slightly less light on sunny days, and on the days you want the light back, you fold the fabric and it is gone. Berkeley National Laboratory confirmed the range independently. Fixed and adjustable awnings reduce cooling loads by 24 to 36% in California climate zones. The Department of Energy published it. Consumer Reports cited it. The numbers are not in dispute. They have not been in dispute for over a decade. Compare that to replacing the window. A new energy-efficient window runs $300 to $800 installed. A house with 10 windows costs $3,000 to $8,000. That new glass reduces heat gain by maybe 25 to 40%, depending on the coating. The $20 shade over the old window blocks 77%. You could spend $8,000 upgrading every window in your house and still not match what a canvas awning does for $20. Press your hand against a west-facing window at 3 in the afternoon in July. In Phoenix, that glass is running 160 degrees or higher. That heat is pushing through the pane into your room every second the sun is on it. Your air conditioner is running a marathon against that window all afternoon. Now picture a shade over it. The glass is warm, not hot. The room behind it is just a room, not an oven. The air conditioner is quiet. That is 77% of the problem solved before your compressor even turns on. And this is not a new answer. It might be the oldest one we have. The Valeria were massive canvas shades stretched over the Colosseum in Rome. Not decoration, climate control. 50,000 spectators sitting in Mediterranean sun needed shade, and the Romans engineered retractable canvas systems operated by sailors from the imperial fleet. The rigging was adapted from ship sails. The shade covered most of the seating bowl. 2,000 years ago, the largest public building in the Western world was air-conditioned with fabric. Across the Mediterranean, Greece, southern Italy, Spain, and North Africa, every building that dealt with serious heat had some version of the same idea. Overhangs, pergolas, canvas stretched between buildings over narrow streets. The white villages of Andalusia, the Medinas of Morocco, the island towns of the Cyclades. Not one of them was designed to be cooled by a machine. Every one of them was designed to manage where the sun could and could not reach. Shade was the first technology. Everything else came after. In America, awnings arrived with the Industrial Revolution. After the Civil War, canvas sailmakers were losing business to steamships. They pivoted. By the 1880s, the awning trade was one of the most common in American cities. Every storefront, every home, every public building had fabric over its windows. Striped canvas in reds and whites and greens. They were not just practical. They defined what an American street looked like. Look at any photograph of any main street in America before 1950. Every window is shaded. Every single one. For more than half a century, the awning was the primary cooling system for the entire country. Not a supplement, not an accessory. The way you kept a building livable in summer. Then Willis Carrier's invention came home. Mechanical air conditioning had existed since 1902, but it stayed commercial for decades, in movie theaters, department stores, and factories. The residential window unit arrived in the late 1940s. Central air for homes came in the mid-1950s. And at almost the same moment, architectural modernism decided that awnings looked fussy. Clean lines, flat surfaces, no clutter on the exterior. The ranch house, the split level, the suburban tract home, none of them had awnings. They had compressors. The developers, mass-producing post-war suburbs, did not install awnings. They installed central air. It was more expensive. It used more electricity, but it could be manufactured, financed, serviced, and billed for monthly. The awning wore out. Nobody replaced it, and one generation later, nobody remembered what it did. By 1970, the awning had gone from universal to quaint. By 1990, most Americans under 40 had never lived in a home that had one. That is not because the science changed. The science never changed. What changed is that somebody figured out how to sell the solution as a machine instead of a material. A machine with a brand name, a warranty, a service contract, and an electricity bill that runs every month for the life of the house. Nobody suppressed awnings. I want to be clear about that because it matters to me that you trust what you hear on this channel. Awnings are on the shelf at Lowe's right now. You can order one online tonight. The Department of Energy recommends them on its website, in plain language, today. This is not a banned technology. What happened is simpler than suppression and harder to fix. The entire HVAC industry, the contractors, the manufacturers, the supply chains, the financing, reorganized around the compressor. A $20 shade that reduces your cooling load by half does not generate a service call, does not require a licensed installer, does not create a $200 annual tune-up, and does not lead to a $5,000 equipment replacement every 15 years. The shade has no brand, no service contract, no moving parts to fail on schedule. It is the kind of solution that makes perfect sense if you are trying to stay cool, and no sense at all if you're trying to build a business around keeping people cool. The contractor who tells you about a $20 shade just eliminated the reason you called. And then there are the homeowner associations. In the neighborhoods where awnings might do the most good, Sunbelt subdivisions with rows of west-facing windows baking every afternoon. Homeowner association covenants restrict exterior modifications. Some require architectural review that takes weeks. Some explicitly prohibit awnings. I found homeowner association guidelines that said no awnings shall be erected or maintained on any portion of any structure. Other communities allow them in rear yards only or require them to be retractable or dictate the color and material down to the fabric weave. Your neighborhood aesthetic code may be quietly requiring every window in your house to absorb maximum solar heat, and then charging you to remove that heat with a machine every month for the rest of your life. Nobody designed that on purpose, but nobody in that chain has any financial reason to redesign it either. And there is one more thing that almost never gets talked about. Every air conditioner on your street hits peak demand at the same time, 3 in the afternoon on the hottest day of the year. That is when blackouts happen. That is when the grid strains. The PAMA study found that awnings reduced peak cooling demand by 31 to 43%. That is not just your bill. That is the difference between the lights staying on and a rolling blackout at 4 in the afternoon on the worst day of August. A $20 shade on every window on your block would do more for grid stability on the worst day of summer than any efficiency upgrade the utility company has ever offered you. But nobody is handing out awnings at the power company. They're handing out rebates on new air conditioning units. Now, a few things worth being honest about. A fixed awning, if it is not sized correctly, can block the low winter sun you actually want. That free solar heat coming through south-facing glass on a January afternoon is real energy. A poorly designed awning takes that away. But here's the thing most people writing about this leave out. The sun is high in summer, roughly 70 to 75 degrees above the horizon at midday. In winter, it is low, 25 to 30 degrees. A fixed awning that projects out from the wall by about a third of the window height blocks the high summer sun completely, while the low winter sun passes right underneath it. No adjustment, no mechanism. The geometry does the work, the same geometry the Romans used, the same geometry every Mediterranean overhang has used for 2,000 years. If you want to be cautious, there are 3 ways to handle winter. First, size the fixed awning correctly. A projection of about a third to a half of the window height, angled at 45 degrees, blocks summer sun and admits winter sun on south-facing windows. That is the whole design. It is not complicated. It is just not something anyone teaches you because nobody sells a geometry lesson. Second, make it removable. Build the $20 PVC version with conduit clamps instead of permanent screws. Put it up in May. Take it down in October. 2 minutes with a screwdriver. One homeowner in a hurricane-prone area designed hers specifically this way. Seasonal removal for storms and for winter sun. Total time to take down 4 window awnings, 8 minutes. Third, leave it up. The PAMA study ran the numbers both ways. In most climates, a fixed awning left up year-round still produces net savings. In Pittsburgh, a cold city with real winters, the winter heating penalty was about $58. The summer cooling savings were over $150. Net positive, even in a place with 5 months of cold. In Sunbelt cities, there's almost no winter penalty at all, because you do not want solar heat gain when January highs are still 65 degrees. The study found that awnings used only during the cooling season saved 9 to 12% on total energy. Left up all year, 6 to 7%. Both are net positive. The seasonal approach is better, but even the lazy approach saves money. So what does actually doing this look like? The cheapest version is PVC pipe and a canvas drop cloth. 1/2 inch PVC, a few elbows and T-joints, PVC cement, and a 6x9 foot canvas drop cloth from the hardware store. Cut the frame to match your window width. Build a rectangle. Slide the canvas over it like a sleeve. The fabric wraps around the pipe and pulls taut. Mount it above the window with conduit clamps at a 45-degree angle. The clamps grip the wall with 2 screws each. The whole thing weighs almost nothing. One builder had a tailor sew the drop cloth for $7. Total cost per window, about $20. Some people have done it for less. A step up from that is a store-bought fabric awning. Acrylic or solution-dyed polyester, UV-resistant, mildew-treated. These run $50 to $150 per window depending on size. They look cleaner. They last longer. The fabric holds up 8 to 12 years, depending on sun exposure. If you want retractable, the kind with a crank or a motor that rolls up when you do not need it, those start around $200 for a manual crank model and go up to $500 for motorized. More money, more moving parts, but they solve the winter question completely. Roll them up in November. Roll them down in April. No tools, no ladder. For a full house, and you do not need every window, just the south-facing and west-facing ones, the ones the afternoon sun actually hits, a do-it-yourself. Setup runs $100 to $200 in materials. A store-bought setup, $300 to $600. A professionally installed retractable system on the key windows, $800 to $1,500. Compare that to a new central AC system, $5,000 to $15,000 installed. Annual operating cost, $600 to $2,000 depending on climate. A 15-year lifespan before you replace it. And every kilowatt hour it burns makes the planet slightly warmer, which makes next summer slightly worse, which makes the AC run slightly harder. A feedback loop that gets worse the more people buy in. An awning does not create that loop. It breaks it. You put the shade up on a Saturday morning. 4 windows, maybe 5. The south-facing ones and the west-facing ones. The windows the afternoon sun pounds every day from May through September. PVC and canvas. 1 hour, maybe 2 hours if you measure twice. By 2 in the afternoon, you walk into the room that used to be the worst room in the house every summer. The west-facing bedroom. The living room with the big window, and it is just a room. Not hot, not cool, just normal. The glass is not radiating. The air near the window is not shimmering. Your hand on the pane feels warm, not scorching. The AC has not kicked on in over an hour. That absence is the shade working. You do not feel it cooling. You feel it stopping. And it will keep stopping. Tomorrow, next month, next summer, no filter to change, no refrigerant to recharge, no technician to call. The fabric might need replacing in 8 or 10 years. The frame will outlast the house. Here's what I keep thinking about. Every building in America used to have these. Not some buildings, every building. Homes, storefronts, schools, courthouses. Canvas sailmakers built an entire industry around them after the Civil War. For 70 years, the awning was the American answer to summer heat. It worked in every climate, on every building type, at a price any family could afford. Then we invented a machine that did the same job for 10 times the price and 100 times the energy, and we did not add the machine alongside the shade. We tore the shade down to make room for the machine. We replaced a $20 solution that blocks 77% of the heat with a $5,000 solution that fights all of it after it is already inside. And then we forgot the shade existed. The physics did not change. The sun is still high in summer, still low in winter. The fabric still works. It has been working since the Romans stretched canvas over the Colosseum. The only thing that changed is that nobody makes money reminding you. Your windows are the weakest surface in your house. A $20 shade handles 77% of the problem on the outside, but the largest surface the sun hits is not your window. It is your roof. And a $14 coat of paint on that roof dropped one homeowner's attic temperature by 40 degrees. Same principle, same physics, same industry that never told you about it. That story is already on this channel. Click it now. If that is the kind of thing worth knowing, subscribe. There is more coming.